I found on TikTok. Let's get into it.
Bigfoot was spotted by a police officer 25 miles northwest of Columbia, South Carolina, while he was sitting in a ground blind hunting, and it was along a power line route. He said the 7.5-foot tall creature was human-like with an ape-like face. It had long brown hair and long arms, and this was described by the officer, only known as JF. He said he heard a deep grunting noise first, followed by a stomp. They then watched each other for like 30 seconds until it walked off. Now, JM says he didn't want to admit it, but he's convinced it was a Bigfoot.
It just seems like South Carolina is becoming the hot spot for the new abnormal stuff to happen. This is like the second time this week or within 2 weeks that something has occurred really close to where I live here in South Carolina. Now, me personally, there was only one time in my life where I thought I seen something in the woods, but to be honest, it could have just been someone in a ghillie suit. I stepped outside to walk the dogs at my parents' house. And in the woods, I could see what looked like a really tall person in a ghillie suit. That's the only way I can describe it, was just walking as slowly as they could through the woods. And it kind of freaked me out, and I just assumed that it was someone hunting, but maybe it was a Bigfoot.
Have you guys heard about Omar Odavi? This is him on this chair. Scientists are trying to study his blood type and the metal content in his blood because for whatever reason he attracts sea life. They don't know if it's mercury because he does have a high mercury count in his blood, but whenever he gets close to the ocean, animals are automatically attracted to him. They don't know if it's the magnetic field. They don't know what it is, but you can see here they were trying to do a control group study where there's another guy that went on the beach in this chair and nothing came, and he sits and all these sharks come, and you can see that there's some stingrays in there. It's quite incredible. I wish that, part of me wishes that I had this ability, but it does come with its downside. He has really poor circulation to his hands and his feet, so he constantly has to have them warmed and have heat pads on them, and Everest is out of the question because they would freeze off right away. But quite cool.
Well, that person might secretly just be a Disney princess. But on a serious note, that's actually really cool and really scary. If you're a person that likes to go into the ocean, it's kind of out of the question in this case because you'd probably have sharks nibbling at your toes. But there is a lot of people out there in the world that have special abilities, if you will, that attracts different animals. I know I've had some people in my comments saying that they're really good at making friends with wild animals. In this case, this guy's really good at making friends with sea creatures.
It's tracking a light in the sky. I couldn't tell on the camera if it was a satellite or not. So I'm tracking this light. As far as I was concerned while it was happening, that was it. It was just one light. I was looking at the footage on the computer. I noticed like the most amazing thing ever. And, that was very, very definitive to me, seeing that footage. This light comes from the top left corner of the screen, zips down, and zips back up to this object.
It's really crazy, and it does not look like much when you see it in a video perspective, when you see these little orbs just darting around in the sky. It could really be anything. But when you see it in person with your own eyes, it's a totally different experience. I've seen orbs in the night sky before plenty of times, but it seems like just within the past few nights, because every night pretty much when I'm walking my dog, I always look up at the night sky, always. For I've done this for many, many, many years. And it just seems like more and more recently, I've seen so many lights in the sky that are just not really explainable to me. And I know aircraft lights fairly well. I'm not like an expert in that field, but I know the difference between a standard aircraft light and other lights. And the lights that I see, they look like they're in space. And I'm not talking about satellites. These things are moving in directions so quickly that it's hard to explain. But I know if I take my camera out and I try to film it, it's not going to look any more different than this. But it does lead you to wonder, what could it be? Is it some kind of military technology? Is it some kind of creature we're just not aware of? Or is it actually extraterrestrial? Let me know in the comments. Have any of you ever seen lights in the sky like this that are just hard to explain, and no matter how hard you try to explain to anyone, they just don't believe you? They're like, it was a drone, Let me know in the comments.
Please tell me I'm not the only one that's noticing time glitching, like jumping forward by several hours. The first time I noticed it was when I lived out in Glade Hill, and that was in 2022. And I kid you not,
I literally walked from one spot where I was standing right around the corner to the bathroom that didn't even take 30, not even a minute to do. It was 9:02 in the morning. The time had just changed. Something told me to take my phone with me. And when I did, and I looked at it, something said, look, check the time. I did, and it literally said 11:02. I'm like, it didn't take no 2 hours to get from that little spot around the corner to the bathroom to put my ass on a pee, wipe, and then check the time. It did not take that long at all. I just came back from the store. When I left, it was like close to 1. Now it's almost 4. And, well, it's closer to 4 than it is 1. We won't even gone for an hour. How'd the time shoot by that fast? I wasn't even gone 30 minutes.
Now, I've experienced some lapse in time where maybe a few minutes kind of escape me just without me realizing, but I've never had whole on hours escape me without me realizing. I kind of wish that that would happen sometimes while I'm at work, but have any of you ever experienced some kind of time glitch where you're doing something and say it's 9 o'clock in the morning? You're like, okay, I do this all the time and it takes me about 30 to 40 minutes. You do your chore, you do the task, and next thing you know, you look at your phone and it's been 2 hours. Like I said, that's never really happened to me like that, but I've definitely heard some people say that that's happened to them. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. For everyone that's subscribed and or watching, thank you so much for being subscribed and thank you for watching. Also, I want to give a special shout out to all of my active members that I have on my channel. So thank you for being an active member. And if anyone's interested in becoming a member to further support the channel, it is 99 cents. And with that, you get extra emojis of my face that you can put into the comments. And when I upload a video, you do not have to wait for my scheduled time. It just immediately comes available to you. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, I do have the memberships turned on, and I cannot thank you enough for the extra support. So thank you.
Do you hear about that guy who was an organ donor that had passed away? Right? So this guy's an organ donor. He got in an accident or something happened, overdosed. So he's in the hospital. He dies, but he is an organ donor. So they're taking him through the hallway and they're doing like a little tiny ceremony thing where you pass the hallway, family, friends, stuff like that.
A tribute kind of thing.
They get him into the surgical room. They start working on it. The dude wakes up, starts panicking, starts trying to pull out his own teeth with his hands and stuff. But this guy was medically declared dead. And then they were trying to harvest the organs. But then he woke up. And so it makes me think, how often is this happening?
So that's what me and Andrew were talking about this the other day.
Really?
Because I feel like there's a conspiracy to where it's like,
Yeah, how likely are they to resuscitate you?
we could really use this guy's kidneys.
Because they're so expensive.
Sadly, that just makes it even more hard to believe the medical system because if you're presumed dead by medical professionals, you would assume that that person's deceased. But as they're going down the hallway, they just sporadically wake up and they're just panicking. It's weird because I feel like there would be better measurement to make sure someone's passed away, unless they are trying to harvest their organs to sell them or to donate them, and they just do not care that the person's barely hanging on or they're barely alive. But why would they risk the opportunity of moments like that happening if that was the case? You would think that they would either euthanize them or they would make sure that they are deceased before they declare that they are deceased if they're doing something shady like that. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it would still be extremely terrifying and extremely traumatizing waking up from a scenario where you're presumed dead.